Welcome to Pulp Mythos. I'm Brian here with Spencer and Larry, and we're going to be discussing Snowfall Season 4, Episode number 7. If you've not hit the bell, hit the subscribe button, please do so. We're going to be doing these reviews every single week. We have, three left? Three left of the season. A lot of other content on the channel. If you're watching City on a Hill, we're also doing reviews for that. Big Sky will be back in about a week, so we'll be back on that one, so check that out. And let's talk about, we're going to jump sort of to the end and then the middle because we're going to talk specifically right now about Alton and his betrayal. um, isn't it some shit that he's technically right? I mean, you know what I mean? Like he sees the damage happening to the community. He feels Franklin is responsible. He wants to do something about it. Now he does it in the most reckless, dangerous way possible. That's going to probably get him killed, but he's not a bad guy. Now he does screw over Franklin, and of course, you know, the repercussions at the end are that he's banished essentially, and I'm assuming he'll get killed at some point in the near future. But I was actively trying to sympathize and understand his point of view throughout it, and I was conflicted because I was like, I get it, but at the same time, like I said, it was reckless. What do you guys think on his situation with Franklin? Where is it going to go? Do you have any sympathy for him, or do you consider him just completely, he betrayed his family, fuck him? How do you guys view the situation?
Well, yeah, go ahead, Larry.
Well, yeah, well, I just wanted to speak on the sympathy aspect first, just, because, in real life, I think, most people, at least most good people, like you said, we'd be rooting for Alton, and you'd be like, Alton is absolutely right. You're a blight on this community. You're actively destroying this community. You're a bad guy, but given that we see things from Franklin's perspective, that Franklin's your main character and the person you follow, like much like many shows, Breaking Bad, you name it, you're rooting for the bad guy because that's your main character, and you want to see this story continue. But like you said, Alton's right, but it's totally understandable given that Franklin does what he does and plans to continue, that he pushed his dad out of his life because that's the only way he can continue his business.
Well, in season 1, his dad came back into his life. His dad was basically MIA from a very young age. He was an addict. So him seeing the effect that Franklin's having, he was super happy to be back in Sissy's life. He was super excited for Franklin to give him another chance. But given their past, it wasn't very hard for Franklin to just write him off. He was just like, okay, well, fuck you. See you later. Because he had already written him off once before. So I think that this is just an extension of that the first time. And now him abandoning Franklin when he was younger, he's able to kind of get past that. He was like, I understand you were an addict. We can rebuild our relationship. And now that, like you said, the ultimate betrayal, it's over. And if it means protecting what he's grown, I think that Alton is dead.
Well, yeah, and you mentioned season 1 and everything. Franklin was getting kicked out of college because of his grants fell through or something. Yeah,
what originally happened is they were trying to get him out of school. The advisor and stuff was saying, "Hey, your scholarship, the money isn't going through, so you need to come up with several $1,000s to be able to stay here." And he's like, "I can't get that." He's like, "Well, you have till," he gave him 48 hours. He's like, "Can I just have a week?" He said, "Nope." So then he ended up fighting the guy and getting kicked out of school.
Well, yeah, and it's the sort of thing if Alton was in his life at that time, if Alton had done what he was supposed to do, Franklin may have never had to resort to this. So, I imagine it would feel like a betrayal to Franklin in the first place, seeing as it's like, I'm here where I am now because you didn't step up as a father, because, I had no one to turn to when I needed this money, when I needed these things, when my life was hard, and, for you to say that I'm poisoning the community and I'm a bad guy, it's like, well, I didn't exactly have any help being a good guy when I was trying.
Yeah, because He did. He did try to be a good guy. He was trying to go to school. He was trying to, get out of that community. And they've shown throughout all the seasons how smart he is. He's a very smart and capable person, but he just decided after that he doesn't want to be part of the system. He just feels, the people from his community are held to a much lower standard. They're held down regardless of how smart and capable they are. So he just wants to prove everybody wrong and play by his own rules now.
And Franklin's other major concern isn't just the losing his empire and losing the money and the stuff he's built. He legit is concerned about getting killed by the CIA. He makes that a point. Because Alton's like, well, we can go hide in Cuba or whatever, and he's like, yeah, all of us. And then he's like, I spend the rest of my life looking behind my shoulder. He legit is aware, and this plays into Jerome and Louis' situation and sort of the dynamic of their relationship now. They're aware that they're sort of stuck in this life, even if they want it out. Because Jerome does want out. He wants to leave, but he knows that the literal government may come gunning for them if they don't play ball. And so that's another big piece to this. That's when I use the word reckless. Alton's didn't think that through, or maybe he did, and he just rolled with it anyways. But what do you guys think about that in terms of this sort of CIA situation hanging over their heads?
Well, I think it's very much what you just said. They don't have a choice at this point. Franklin is still trying to expand. I think he understands, but he's trying to play this to his advantage. He knows that things are not great. He knows the outcome of what could happen, and he's mentioned it several times throughout even this season. The the life expectancy of someone in my line of business is very short. So he knows what he's risking, but he's okay with it. But he also knows the dangers. He's well aware of what could happen if the CIA decides that he's no longer valuable.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, he knows that it's very dangerous, that it's very unlikely that he survives long. However, he's trying to survive as long as possible and, provide as much for his friends and family as he can while he can, is the thing, and I think that's the big picture that Franklin, was expressing there. It's like, you can't protect everybody, and Franklin is trying to protect, all of his people. He's talking about going to Cuba, and and Franklin mentions like, yeah, you're gonna take everybody to Cuba, which doesn't seem likely because Franklin couldn't even convince his folks, which was an odd reversal there, because he's talking to them like, let's go to Cuba, let's expose this thing and go to Cuba. It's like when Franklin early in this season was like, okay, there's people gunning for me and trying to kill me. Y'all need to hide out. And they wouldn't even leave the neighborhood, you know? So now he's trying to tell Franklin, we'll go to Cuba. It's like, oh, we'll convince everybody to go to Cuba.
Teddy and Avi have their little adventure this week. Basically, they're going down to Panama to try and get the money, the $15 million that's missing. They get there. All of a sudden, the money's back. Everything's okay. But this pisses off Teddy, and he basically finds the guy they say stole it. He tortures the hell out of the guy. The guy clearly doesn't know shit. Spencer, we had talked. You think this is Avi playing games, moving his money around. He screwed over or tried to screw over Franklin in past seasons. Do you think this is the case here? And if so, what the hell is Teddy's next move going to be if, in fact, that is the situation? He sort of needs Avi, though, correct?
Well, I mean, right now, it seems like that's the one supplying him with guns and everything else. But at what point does he look somewhere else? Because Avi did the same thing with Franklin. He was trying to get Franklin invested, in these offshore accounts. So he has them meet with this guy down in Panama. Like, he's like, bring $1 million, or I don't remember how much it was. It was like $1 million. And he's like, I'll bring $1.5 million. So he brings this shit ton of money down, and he ended up like he was playing Avi because he knew something was up, but Avi was going to steal his money. He was trying to steal his money because Avi owed somebody else money. And it's a bunch of like organizations in the Middle East that Avi is tied to. And I think that he is in way deeper in those organizations than uh, than he says he is, just by doing context clues and everything that's happened over the last couple seasons. That I think that he is so tied into these other crews that he is. I don't think he's meaning to fuck with people's money, but I think that he's just trying to figure out a way for himself to survive.
I think he's moving it around. I don't think
Yeah.
he has money, but not enough to deal with all the deals, and so he just shifts it around. I'm just guessing. He shifts it around where it's needed when it's needed.
Yeah, Avi takes me as the type that where he, like you said, he does have money, but he's got more debt than money, and so he's been shifting it around. He's playing these games to cover his ass, and basically, I just kind of feel like, if he could not do this, like you guys are saying, if he could afford not to do it, he would. He wouldn't risk it. But he's probably in so deep. He's probably owes so many people so much that he has to play these little games.
I just started singing Sum 41 in my head when you said it.
Jesus. The bounty. So Khadijah has put a bounty out for not just Leon, for anyone associated with the crew, with Franklin's crew. And we have a couple of examples of this, the ramifications of this particular bounty, that being a young man is gunned down, brought in a trunk to Manboy for the 5,000 cash. It's the wrong guy. It's not Leon. So we have that scene play out. Manboy's getting pissed about it because he feels there's a recklessness to the what's going on, and he doesn't like that. He confronts his sister about it, and they basically have a little falling out. Don't really get Scully this episode, but then we get the situation where a woman she puts the gun on Leon, and we'll talk more about what goes on with Leon this episode, but she puts a gun on him and basically spills the beans on this whole bounty situation. Jerome learns about it. So now the Franklin crew is basically like, well, shit. Just walking outside is dangerous because there's $5,000, being offered for our corpses. This definitely raised the stakes. It is interesting, though, that Manboy is not for this particular style of getting revenge, if you will. He is looking at it more business-wise, and I think he thinks this is bad for business. So what do you guys think about Manboy's views on this situation, where this bounty goes? Clearly, this war is escalating. There's only 3 more episodes. I assume there'll be some kind of conclusion in the next 3 episodes. Where do you guys think this is heading?
Well, I think, you talking about Manboy, he said it. He was just like, hey, this is not good for business. I have my own way. I'm trying to do this. You're bringing unnecessary heat on us, because just like in City on a Hill, or just like when Khadijah's child died, it's a child's death is going to bring every cop, every agent, everyone out of the woodworks to try and, get this under wraps. So with this kind of recklessness, there's going to be some innocent casualties. Just like you said, the guy who looked similar to Leon in a trunk. Who else is what other innocent people are going to die because there's this bounty out? And, back then there wasn't a Facebook or anything like that. So you can't stalk their Instagram and get 30 headshots of them and figure out who it is. It's just a description that somebody gave you. So there's going to be probably quite a few more innocent people died because of this. And Manboy doesn't want that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Because, and it's more to that with, at least I think there's more to it with Manboy, in fact, because, we also had the plot line where Franklin's car is being followed. And I'm pretty sure that's also Manboy, because, my theory is here, Manboy doesn't want him dead yet, because Manboy is still looking for his plug. He wants to know where
definitely
Franklin gets his drugs first, so he doesn't want him dead. He wants to kill him eventually, sure, but he wants to know who's getting his stuff first. So in that way, it's even more bad for business for him. But not only that, but I feel like this may be part of what, like, Khadijah thinks that she made a very smart move, when in reality she kind of set herself up here, because there's the bounty and everything, and clearly there's a meeting place for this bounty. So I feel like Franklin and his crew are gonna set something up like, yeah, we got Leon's corpse. We got Leon, and then Khadijah or Manboy or somebody will show up with their people, like, and it'll be Franklin's boys or someone that Franklin hired.
Well, I think that's a good point too, because with Manboy trying to find the the plug and find the drugs so that he can distribute this stuff himself, Teddy even said it. He was like, Franklin, you're expendable too. Anybody can be replaced. So I think that Franklin might see that as well. If he knows that Manboy's looking for the plug, if he's looking for his supplier, he is going to have to get rid of Manboy, because that gives Teddy another option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we're at this point here where there's no way that these three don't kill each other. Manboy, Franklin, and Scully. Two of these people are gonna die. Just saying, one way or another.
Yeah, I'm very curious how this war is going to end. I love that I don't really know. I keep trying to figure it out. Like, how exactly is Franklin going to get himself out of this situation? I don't completely know yet. But it's fun watching. We do
read
go
the
ahead.
media on a freeway Rick Ross, like because this is. I looked it up. This is almost exactly what happened. The rapper Rick Ross stole this guy's name and became the rap version of this, and half the songs he sings about is stuff that this real Rick Ross did. And this real Rick Ross seems to line up very closely with Franklin and a lot of the stuff that happened. In this episode, when they started dealing with the Crips, that was a big thing that the Rick Ross did in the 80s. So he was dealing with the drugs through gangs and stuff. He was using them as soldiers. And this is exactly what they're doing in this episode.
Well, on that note, Leon is confronted by Dion, and he is Fatback's cousin, and he's basically taking over some territory that Leon wants to get back involved with, and he wants to fight. I love the fact that he's puts the guns to the side and is like, let's fight. And Leon's like, I'm gonna lose, so no. So that was an interesting exchange, but Jerome basically has to come get involved and deal with it the way it used to be dealt with. I guess in the 70s, if you will. And they hammer out a deal. They hammer out an alliance, and we are introduced to another named character. They just call him Einstein, and he only has a couple scenes, but they're both phenomenal. And I hope he sticks around for next season. That being, he's really good with math, and the fact that everybody else is having a good time, and this woman comes up, pulls the gun on Leon, and Einstein's there, got his back. He's on it. So he's definitely a soldier that's has your back, is aware of the surroundings, and like I said, I hope he sticks around. So that whole situation, that dynamic, the fact that Jerome had to get involved, we got new soldiers that are now aligned with Franklin. That part of the story is looking very beneficial for Franklin. So yeah, what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I think Einstein. Glad you mentioned that character for one. Like, this is a new character that could play a number of interesting roles. We've seen very little of him, so we don't know how ambitious he is. But if he is ambitious on any level, he's the sort of character that could be, very dangerous to Franklin or very useful to Franklin for one. So it could be the sort of thing where Einstein is your true threat here because he's in Franklin's organization, he's learning stuff, and he's able to start his own business. You have that, and you have the new element of Franklin's current girlfriend and everything. Like, how loyal is she actually to his crew? You have a lot of new people entering into this crew, and with that comes a level of vulnerability. So I'm curious to see what role he plays to get to the point where we have more hints, at what his angle is in all this.
I love that Einstein came in. It was so well done. It was a funny character. The scene where he pulled the gun on the person trying to kill Leon, that was great. But like you said, the danger to Franklin is Franklin's asset to this crew has always been how smart he was
Mm-hmm.
on, as well as how resourceful he was as far as, teaming up with Teddy. Einstein's, like you said, if he's ambitious, he seems to be just as smart as Franklin. So you have that twofold aspect, but I think that Franklin's going to stay ahead of it and probably use him, as far as accounting goes and things like that. He could probably use him to help even grow his business more.
Yeah, in fact, you talk about a replacement for Franklin. And if there's any character that has potential for that, perhaps even more man boy, it's Einstein. If he finds out who Franklin's plug is and takes it back to his people and everything, and if he plans on cutting the same kind of deal, that too could be a danger to Franklin.
One area Franklin's trying to get ahead is he's trying to figure out what the hell was what was up with Teddy last time he encountered him when he was clearly intoxicated and making threats. And so he's trying to find out through Gustavo. He's just like, hey, man, what the hell is going on with our guy? And so we have that interaction. And then towards the end, the second aspect of this is he's like, hey, when he finds out that Irene has the story, he's trying, trying to let Teddy know. Teddy's not there. Obviously, he's down in Panama. And Gustavo's just like, look, I don't know where he's at. He's doing what he does. So Gustavo play is sort of the go-between this episode as far as Franklin trying to get information and then also Franklin trying to give the warning. Curious to where that's going to go is the whole Franklin, Teddy, Gustavo relationship. Do you guys have any thoughts on where that could be headed in the next 3 episodes?
I think that Gustavo is going to play a more important role to Franklin here very soon. And I mentioned it a couple reviews ago about him helping them get soldiers. I think now that Leon and Jerome have acquired the Crips, that may negate the need for Gustavo to come in and, save him with his ties to some of the other gangs that we've seen in previous seasons. But, him working with the CIA now, because it's not an honorary member. He's basically, they told him, like, hey, you're working with me, you're protected also.
He looked real comfortable in that office
Yeah.
with all of this stuff. Yeah.
So I'm real curious if Gustavo is going to help Franklin because he feels it's an interest in his business now as well. It's an interest of the countries because he feels important now. Gustavo has this sense of purpose that he's never really had before. And I think that him protecting that sense of purpose is going to play into some of his decision making.
Well, yeah, and not only that, but another thing that may play into his decision making is what he was in that office researching. It looked like he was looking up Teddy and what his whole angle is. And now, I'm wondering if it was just to figure out what may be wrong with him or if he had, other reasons to be researching Teddy.
Well, I think that Teddy's been a loose cannon here the last couple episodes. And I think that worries Gustavo just because it can hinder their business. It can, put a damper on everything that they've worked so hard to accomplish. And Gustavo's, like I said, he's killed a ton of people for Teddy and, for this operation. And I think that this whole thing, if Teddy's the reason it fails, Gustavo is going to lose his shit. So I think that he's trying to protect his interest and protect his hard work.
Yeah, and it may be that, and but yeah, that may be true. But I'm also curious how when Teddy finds out that Gustavo has looked into his past that extensively, how does Teddy react to it? I mean, not Teddy. How does Teddy react to Gustavo looking into him like this? Is he at a point where he'd see where he'd feel threatened by that and would act on it to some degree? Maybe not even kill Gustavo, but make threats. Is this gonna mess with their relationship and put them at odds?
It's a possibility.
Yeah, I don't know. Teddy's in a weird place. He's very unpredictable at this point in terms of what even it is he wants to do with anything. So, loose cannon is definitely the right words to use because I think we had said a couple episodes back. I think Larry, you'd said, does Teddy even make it out of this season
Yeah.
at this point? And I don't know. Things are getting pretty wild with that character.
Well, yeah, because the whole everybody's replaceable thing, especially with Gustavo taking up the role he is, you know, I think that was more the show foreshadowing potentially Teddy's future, even.
And on that same note, we talked about it at the beginning. Irene now has her story, and we get a nice little sequence of her typing it up. She's excited. She has her board. She has all the lines, connected. She knows who did what and how everything is played out. She has all the dirt, and she's about to run the story. Her ex-husband basically gives her a warning. She's like, look, this is what we've worked for. This is, something, that she's wanted to do. And he basically says, he's well aware of her ambitions, but he's also aware of the danger of it. And basically warning her, our lives are at risk. Do you realize what it is you are trying to do? I don't see her character making it through this. We know from, obviously, these characters are made up, but a lot of these storylines are based in some reality, and that particular CIA connection didn't really get exposed till like the 2000s. Like I think there were rumors in the 90s, and then it really didn't get exposed until like 2008 or some shit. Therefore, unless they go radically different with history, this story will not get out. So what will prevent it from getting out? Does Irene die? Is there some way that she's convinced not to run the story?
No.
What do you
I don't
guys
think when you say is she going to be convinced, like I feel that she is so headstrong that she feels like she's doing the right thing. There's no way of convincing her. So the only thing that I can think of is who's going to kill her. I don't know if it's going to be a CIA person, if it's going to be one of Franklin's people, because she's putting them in danger. There's so many people whose radar she's on now. And to me, it's just a race as to who's going to do it.
Well, yeah, and that's a possibility, but I'm starting to think that there's an alternate path there too, which they've hinted at this episode. She seems to foolishly think for some reason that, because they're slightly at odds with each other, that, that they're not willing to use her family against her, that they're not going to do that, so like, I don't think it'll be her life that's threatened. I think it may be her daughter's life that's threatened because they brought her up twice now, so
yeah,
clearly.
they do keep bringing her up. And
Yes.
she's like going into law school or something, hasn't they?
Well, she's interning on Wall Street is the thing, and with Franklin's new political connections and whatnot, it may not be hard to get to her, or it may be, it may be Teddy and his pool that does it. It's there's a handful of ways they can go about this without killing her. Just say, hey, yeah, how about you hand over everything you got, or how about, your daughter loses this job she has and any opportunity in Wall Street. How about that degree winds up meaning nothing that she worked so hard for, and who knows what happens to your ex-husband. And that's probably one of the routes that I see them taking to deal with Irene.
I think if it is somebody trying to manipulate that aspect, I don't know who would do it because Teddy is so tied up in everything that's going on with the money right now that this isn't getting any of his attention. Gustavo is a possibility because it could come up on his radar, but that's literally clear across the country. I mean, unless you count Alaska or Hawaii, it's the complete opposite side of the United States. And that's my only thing about whether or not it's one of them. And I don't think that Franklin's going to drive to New York to threaten her daughter. So that's why I'm saying the easiest option and the quickest to explain would be somebody just killing her.
Well, and that's the thing. And, this can show how far reaching corruption can truly be. It's the thing. Franklin doesn't have to be there. Not only is he talking about expanding his brand, his illegal brand, but, like his legitimate business and his political connections. I think this is where, directly or indirectly, Paul Davis's connections come into play to some degree. Like, so we'll probably see that character again, likely. And, either they'll ask him for a favor directly, or they'll ask him if he has any connections in, let's say, New York. And, especially once they learn a name, if Paul Davis is connected to anybody that has any influence over where the daughter works or any political influence in that area, then she could easily lose that internship and wind up coming back home. And that could put the ball in Franklin's court, if anything. She lost a job. What else could happen? And then he's making those kinds of threats, and because I feel like Irene, because they've brought this up, I think, to point out the fact that there's a possibility. The one angle that hasn't been played yet, because nobody knows to play it, is Irene might cave when her family is threatened.
The Paul Davis thing could be a route, or there could be a third party. Not CIA, not Franklin's crew that could get involved. We're talking about wars being funded. There could be another element as well. The Irene storyline is interesting because it's crystal clear that story is not going to come out. It's just in terms of what would stop it. And once it's stopped, the people at her paper are aware of the story and the details. Her editor, I'm sure, knows everything. So they're going to have to sit on it. You know what I mean? So even if Irene doesn't want to run the story herself, they're going to also have to agree not to run the story. So this storyline is interesting because, there's many, many possibilities, and it'll be interesting to see exactly which route they go.
Well, she's got a new editor, and he seems scared to move on this initially, so he may be the one to threaten. Like, she may hand over all the evidence, and he may very well destroy it, if anything. Or it could be funny you mentioned a third party, because we also have, Teddy's contact reaching out to him and saying, like, look, it seems like you're doing a lot here. Let me play a part. And he's seeing Teddy just being a complete mess this whole time. So, they have documents on who he's working with and everything. So he may reach out to Franklin directly, and we may see Teddy bypassed in this whole process.
Or the CIA. Yeah, you're right. The CIA themselves may be like, you know what, Teddy's exposed. We need to switch up how we play this out. Shit, wouldn't it be crazy if this story that gets Teddy killed? This is the thing. They take Teddy out to try and cover up something. Put a different handler on it.
Well, funny that's mentioned too, because here we have another angle. While he doesn't trust Avi, there was a talk with Avi about a change in vocation, that Avi used to do what he does, so Teddy may well be on the path to becoming the type of person that Avi is.
That'd be interesting. Wanda has a couple scenes. She comes in and she tries to give Leon the info. She had overheard the situation with Irene and Alton, and she's basically trying to tell him, but he doesn't want to really, he's busy at the moment. And she's basically trying to use that information to work her way in. She wants a job. She wants to work as part of the crew. And yet again, they've spent a lot of time with Wanda this season, showing her get clean. Now she, has, she wants to make money. She's at the shelter. She clearly has avoided looking for jobs. There's a line of dialogue that points that out. And then they tell us at the end the reason for that is she has a job she wants, working with Leon. Where does this go? And I doubt anything good will come out of it, but will she end up going to someone else? Will she go to Manboy?
Well, earlier seasons, she was Leon's girlfriend, and then she started cooking the crack for them, helping them cook, and then she threw a party and smoked. And as soon as she smoked the product, she was done. And then it turned into what we kind of saw at the beginning of this season. That's been a long journey for her throughout the series, is her just getting worse and worse and worse. So now for her to finally be clean, it's hard to imagine her wanting to put herself back in that kind of situation. But she also realizes that living on the streets is not for her. She's trying to find a way for her to not be living in squalor anymore. She wants to contribute to the group like she used to do, but by Leon not trusting her, she's going to have to do something to get money. So, like you said, her going to Manboy's crew because she knows how to cook the crack. She knows how to do it. So she may end up finding a different crew to make product for so that she can, make money.
Or there's also the possibility that she might go directly to Franklin with this and give Franklin this information, and that's how Franklin finds out. And then Franklin, gives her a job again, and that creates a lot of tension between Franklin and Leon, due to the fact that Leon was trying to avoid, destroying her life the way that he feels he did in the past.
I don't think, there's already enough tension between Leon and Franklin. I don't know that they would need to add more, but it would be interesting to see them do that. I don't think that they need to do that, but it would be another wrench in the works.
Well, I do.
She's going to start working for Einstein. Form their own crew.
Yeah, that would be an interesting angle. But yeah, I feel like she knows for a reason. She's gonna tell somebody. She's gonna tell somebody about this reporter, and it could be interesting if she tells Franklin. But like you said, it could also be more interesting if she tells Manboy. And through finding this reporter, and it could be Manboy who deals with it because now he knows who Franklin's plug is and everything else.
Oh shit, that's an angle, yeah.
And Manboy's the one that takes her out. So it could be dealt with that way. So you might have a pretty good point there, Spencer.
Yeah. T. Last thing I want to really talk about is T. I don't have much to say. That's why I saved it for the very, very end. We've been saying how we've been questioning her and Franklin's relationship. Why she seems to be moving her way really close to him. There's no evidence or nothing pointing to she's with this or that. So I really don't know. She was in the episode, but I really still don't have any thoughts on exactly what her angle is. I think there's something there, but I just can't put my finger on it.
Yeah. I think that I want to say that she's either working with Manboy or Scully. I don't know which crew. Or if she has her own angle, I'm not sure, but I don't feel as though she is just this person for Franklin to be in a relationship with. I think that she has an ulterior motive, and I don't know that we're privy to what it is exactly yet, because otherwise we'd be talking about what it was. But I do feel like she's either working for Manboy or Scully, and it would just make sense for her to be doing that because Manboy always seems to know a little bit more than he should, and that seems to be the best source of information. And the only reason I say that too is because she's asked some questions about the inner workings of his business, and why the hell would she want to know those things? And with the story or the storyline that Manboy's been on this entire season is trying to figure out where he gets the drugs so he can basically just cut Franklin out of it and do it himself. So it feels like that's who she's working with, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah, and the twist here, the real twist could be, and it'd be a good way to throw people, myself included, maybe that she's being completely honest here, and that Franklin has and is about to have so many personal betrayals at this point that he just doesn't trust her. That there may be a point where he's like, I don't trust this because, we had him being weary of her working at the bar in the first place and everything. He didn't like that idea that his aunt gave her a job and, that his crew was so quick to accept her. But given that he can't trust his dad, that Leon literally had to be completely cornered before he could turn to him, and all the other things that are playing against Franklin, and you even have Teddy threatening him and everything. He could be so closely guarded at this point that this actually does turn out to be a person he can trust, that he winds up turning against him just off of pure, well, I guess justified paranoia, but out of paranoia.
Yeah. It's been interesting all season. There constantly seems to be something going on, but they've not shown us. And I do agree. You said earlier the car that was chasing them, that's probably Man Boy.
Mm-hmm.
Man Boy is. It's funny because he really is trying to figure out where the hell the supply is coming from, and I'm curious if he'll figure it out. At some point. And would he? I'm curious if Teddy would be interested in working with him directly. If he would turn on Franklin. Maybe if he thought Franklin had enough heat on him, he would. But
It could be Man Boy following him or the detective.
Oh shit! I didn't think about the detective. Yeah, what is his name? I have it somewhere. Yeah, he wasn't in this episode. You're right. There is a detective who is heavily invested in trying to take Franklin down. Detective Stern.
Detective Stern, yes.
There it is. So yeah, that's another element that could be at play here. Absolutely.
He could be an undercover.
Shit.
It could not even be Man Boy or anything. It could be the cops.
Well, I think if it was Stern, it wasn't Stern himself in the car because neither of those people looked like Stern.
Well, yeah.
No, but even when he pulled over Franklin and Peaches, he showed up later.
He had a shit ton of people with him. It was a whole. He probably has a dedicated task force. I bet that's dedicated to taking down Franklin.
Especially after the child died, he's probably got a bunch of money and people at his disposal now.
But yeah, another we say it every week. Great episode. Anything else you guys want to talk about regarding episode number 7 of season 4 of Snowfall?
Nah.
Yeah, I think we pretty much said it all. It's just very interesting to see, like we've all been saying, like the most uncertain thing I think is, we know that Irene will be that Franklin. Well, at least we assume that Franklin's going to deal with Irene somehow, or perhaps even Man Boy. Now we've discovered, just the question is how.
Yeah, definitely. 3 left. That's about, if you combine each episode, it's about 45 minutes, so it's about hour and a half, 2 hours, about a film's length left of the show of this season, and we are definitely getting a season 5. It was ordered, so that's great news. So yeah, we appreciate everyone listening. We'll have another review up next week, and yeah, thanks.
Bye.